Welcome back to Us versus Life. And today I have before you Miss Faith Shepherd. She's at I Am Faith Shepherd with 15,000 subscribers on YouTube. But she's way more than that. She is a mother, she is an entrepreneur, she's owned and operated many businesses. She's done catering, she has been involved in Forex trading, she has done hair. She is an example of what life looks like. So, Faith, please introduce yourself.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for having me. Um, I'm Faith. uh, I'm excited to be here, excited to be on this interview. I would say, uh, who am I? I mean, you kind of said it, everything that I would have said. But yes, I'm a mom. I have two girls, 12 and 3, and also an ex hairstylist. And now I've transitioned into the 9 to 5 sales industry, and so looking forward to just kind of diving more into that on today and talk about the transition and just about my journey, talk about the things I've learned in my 20s, and yeah.
All right, all right. I appreciate it. And once again, thank you so much for being here and doing this. Faith, tell me a little bit about your background.
My background. So, okay, so from childhood or from like,
Just a little bit of whatever you want to share with the audience. It's up to you.
okay. So my background, I would say one of the biggest things that kind of started it was I was a teen mom. And then I was 8 years as a hairstylist, ran my own business. I was a booth renter, and I had my own wig company, hairline. Um, when I did that, maybe from about 19 till about 20, about 19 to about age 27. Um, Very successful in that industry. Learned a lot. I would say the transition, I would say hair for me was my way of surviving, right? With me being a teen mom, I had to figure life out quickly. And so it was actually a friend of mine's mom, good friend of mine, her mom told me, she said, Faith, you should look into going to hair school. And I was like, really? And truth be told, like when I think about just high school, I was always doing my friend's hair. I was always on YouTube, just like, right? With me being a teen mom, I had to figure life out quickly. And so it was actually a friend of mine's mom, good friend of mine, her mom told me, she said, Faith, you should look into going to hair school. And I was like, really? And truth be told, like when I think about just high school, I was always doing my friend's hair. I was always on YouTube, just like learning about, like looking at just different hair tutorials. Never really considered it. Like if you would have asked me when I was younger, I would have thought that I wanted to be on a talk show. I wanted to go to school for um, broadcasting. I wanted my own talk show, and college was just kind of out of the picture for me at that time. And so my parents were more so like, all right, it's either school or the military. And the military was just, it wasn't me. And so the rebellious teenager decided to sign herself up for hair school. And that's what I did. And, it really helped me figure things out and just start to establish myself. And so that's a little bit of my background. Yeah.
All right, all right. And as I understand, Faith, you were a teen mom,
Mm-hmm.
and you had your first child just 10 days after graduation. Is that right?
Yes, I walked across my high school graduation, embarrassing my family.
Obviously.
9 months pregnant. Yep.
It's interesting that you use the word embarrassing,
Uh huh.
but you're laughing about it,
Uh huh.
so I get it. So, Faith, you mentioned that 10 days after graduation, you actually had your first child. What were you feeling during those times? Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Um, I would say what most people probably feel, whether you're young or old, when it's not planned. Obviously, just that initial shock, fear. my stepdad, he was actually the one that really opened my eyes to deciding to go through and have my daughter, and I'm so glad he did, because just a couple months prior I was going to different colleges. I really was looking into going into VCU at that time, and obviously not expecting to get pregnant, and so that really changed things for me. And so you know the conversation of having an abortion obviously came, and so just trying to decipher if that's what I should do. And I'm glad I didn't. I will say that, because my daughter, she's here. She's 12. She'll be 13 here in like the next 8 months. And, she's my best friend. She's watched me grow. She's been a lot, my big motivation. And I would say, just the fear, getting over the fear of the unknown was the biggest hurdle. And that's how my stepdad broke it down to me. Just saying, you're scared because you don't know what's going to happen. But, you just have to know that regardless of what happens, it's always going to be okay. And if you could get over the fear of the unknown and accept that, then, and that's exactly that's how it happened. Just getting over that fear and just deciding that I was going to figure it out. Not knowing how, but just deciding that I was going to figure it out, because I know I even had the abortion appointment made. I had it made, and my dad had called me the night before, and he was like, I'm going to pick you up at 6 a.m. And I still remember this conversation. I remember where I was in my bathroom, and I was like, Dad, I can't do it. And see, and what made it bad for me, I was a daddy's girl. I was a big daddy's girl, and disappointing him, not wanting to disappoint him, not wanting to fail, not wanting him to see me like as a failure. That was a big fear, but I just couldn't. Like, I don't know what it was, but I just couldn't. And although I didn't know what I was gonna do, but I just decided to go through with it and see it through and trust God. Honestly, that's actually the year that I got pregnant. It's the year that I gave my life to Christ. So.
And was the baby's father supportive or helpful in any way, or?
No, that was a whole big ghetto mess. We're not gonna get into that. It was a big ghetto mess. We were young. We were both kids. We were new to each other, so it was a. Why are you looking at me? We were young. We were both kids. We were both scared. He had his plans. I had my plans, but we're cool to this day. That's he was just at the house the other day. Like, we have a great relationship. We went through I call it the ghetto, the real ghetto phase. We were 18. You know what I mean? We're a month apart, and so we were 17, 18 years old, but we have a great relationship today. We co-parent very well. So,
let me ask you this: would you say that it is more valuable that two people that have a child together stick together and work that situation out, no matter if they can't get along at all, for the sake of the child, or do you think that adults should, or people that have children together should compare the relationship that they have with each other with the relationship they're looking to have with the child? Like, or should those two things be totally separate?
okay. So, should they try to work it out? That was at the first part of your question.
Yeah, so if you have two adults that have a child together, should they focus only on their relationship between the two adults, or do you think that they should also consider the relationship between the child and the two adults? Or do you feel that one outweighs the other, or is it 50-50? What are your thoughts there?
I would say your relationship with the child is the most important. each party's relationship with the child, and each party has to understand. This was something we all had to learn. Um, and what helped me was I had to understand that regardless of what a person does or doesn't do, I can't focus on that. You know what I mean? I have to focus on, this is my child, it's my responsibility, and it's my responsibility to give her the best life and put my feelings aside and my thoughts aside, my opinions aside. That doesn't matter at the end of the day. Her father, he's always been there, and whether I felt like he was doing a good job or didn't, or if he felt like I was doing a good job or didn't, none of that mattered. All that mattered was making sure that she knew she was loved by her mama, making sure that she knew that she was loved by her father. And I feel like, obviously, if we can get along and respect one another, that's the biggest thing. You got to respect that person, because at some point, y'all like each other enough to, lay down with one another. So, you have to have respect, and you have to have maturity, and you have to put your feelings, and that's what a lot of people miss. Your feelings got to take a back seat. You know what I mean? And your standards and your values is what has to be at the forefront of all your decisions. And so, my standard for my child is to have her mother and her father there, to understand that to know what love feels like from a mother, to know what love feels like from a father. And if that's what his standards are, then his feelings don't matter either. That stuff got to take the back seat. And so just constantly being able to have that at the forefront of all your decisions. And like I said, just say, this is my kid. It's my responsibility to make sure that she has what she needs. And he got to have that same mindset. And whatever we got to do as a team, whether we're together or whether we're co-parenting, that's ultimately the most important thing. So, does that answer?
It does perfectly. And if you would you share with us a little bit about your childhood outside of what you just mentioned with being a mom? Just in general, did you have a lot of friends? Did you consider yourself popular? What were those dynamics of your early childhood, your growing up life? What was that like for you?
Ooh. I would say, I don't want to, I don't, popular, no, I had friends, but I would say to people who didn't know me, I was like the pretty suburban girl. And then the people who knew me, I was the broken. And I feel like I was surrounded, not surrounded, I just had people in my life who saw my light. One thing I've always known about myself is, even when I was younger, there was always a light about me. You know what I mean? And I was always very optimistic about just the things that I wanted, but my life and everything that I was going through, I was fighting. Like, I was fighting not to be, what's the word I'm looking for? Insecure. You know what I mean? A lot of things because I wanted to just be that pretty girl with suburban girl with like the mom and the dad and like these big protective brothers. But the reality is, even though that's what I projected, that wasn't my life. And I feel like people around me who really, really knew me, wanted, some of them, not all of them, but it was kind of like just wanted to get close enough to me to be my friend, but wanted to expose, I would say, wanted to expose those parts of me that I tried to hide. I wanted to just, be this girl here and wanted people to see me in this certain way. But they wanted to expose that side of me. And when I went through things in my life, I feel like what really taunted those people was seeing me overcome certain situations, and just elevate in every season. And thank God, like just over the course of time, those people were exposed. Those people are no longer in my life. They watch me though, so. And I've had different people like that in different capacities, but that's how it started. I think because I give everybody a chance. I try to see the light in everybody. Um, I probably had some people around me longer than they should have, or gave people more access to me that I should not have. Yep.
Yeah, it's interesting for me. I feel like a lot of times what I see in the dynamics of life and in the relationships that people have with each other is I see it like a trend where a lot of people want a lot of the same things individually, but collectively we're not coming together to help each other achieve those individual wants. And ironically, they are very similar across the board. And it's like for me, sometimes I feel like two people can be interested in having the same things out of life, but they don't help each other get those things.
Right.
And sometimes they're at opposition, but they have the same goals.
Right.
So I always found that interesting when I see that, and I see it quite often. So Faith, when you were growing up, you spent some time in multiple places, and if you want to say where, that's up to you. But I just want to ask you about, because I know there are younger people that have moved around when they were, growing up, and sometimes people may have felt like they couldn't build solid relationships because they were moving back and forth. Was that something that you experienced growing up, that you were moving from one place to another, or that was not the case for you?
No, that wasn't the case for me. I lived in Norfolk from like a toddler till sixth grade, and then from sixth grade until now, moved to Suffolk, Virginia, and so I still have friends from Norfolk that I'm still cool with. I still have friends from Suffolk. A lot of my childhood friends are still around today. So no, my parents were military, but I didn't get to experience like the moving around, having to meet new people, relocating, things like that. So yeah, that didn't play an effect for me.
Yeah, and I also hear this a lot in talking with people, and just curious your thoughts. Do you feel that the environment you grow up in terms of the city, what it's like in your neighborhood, and all those things, plays a part in the quality of life that you have, or do you feel those things don't matter?
Absolutely. Environment is everything. You know, I feel like environment is everything, but also at the same time, being able to expose yourself to things outside of your environment is key. And so for me, I would say that my mom, believe it or not, one of the best things my mom, and she probably doesn't even know this, but she was one of the ones that instilled this in me. I've always been a dreamer. And my mom, she got started into network marketing when I was a little girl. I remember her having like all the different like that meetings at the house. Like she was the one that would host a lot of those things, and I actually wish she would have kept at it. But I remember like she had on her car job free, like that was her license plate, job free 33. And she always used to tell us, I want to be job free by the age of 33. And so she did that. And just like those little nuggets, bringing me to conventions and things like that, and not even knowing that I was listening and paying attention. And so even though, where I grew up, like even just like in Norfolk, military housing, you know what I mean, townhouse, everybody that I knew lived in the same place, you know what I mean? And so just those little bits of exposure from her taking me to the conventions with her, not even realizing that I paid attention. So environment does plays a huge factor, but also making sure you're exposing yourself or your children to things outside of your environment plays a huge factor.
Yeah. And one thing you talked about just now, I would like to ask you about, and that is the dynamic of a mother and a father. Um, in general, what would be your thoughts about the importance of a mother versus the importance of a father? Not to compare in a negative way, but just your opinion of the experience from a relationship standpoint with your mother versus your father.
I believe that it's a mother's job to instill love, gentleness, nurturing, um, and to, like, for me, being the example to my girls of what it's like to take care of yourself as a woman, to love yourself, to work hard, to believe in yourself. I believe that those are things that I can teach my girls, to just be gentle, be soft, be loving. And those are things that I believe that most women hold. Um, and then I believe for my dad, more so, you know, providing, letting me know that I'm protected, letting me know that I'm safe, um, teaching me and showing me what to accept, what not to accept. You know what I mean? Um, Believe it or not, I believe a father builds confidence. I believe a father in a little girl's life, and I can, that's the only thing. Even not even say just a little girl's. I believe in boys too. When I think about guys I've dated, I can tell the difference between the ones who had active fathers in their life or an active male role model in their life, um, who taught them how to throw a ball, taught them how to fix things, taught them how to do certain things, um, as opposed to ones who didn't.
Hey, that makes a lot of sense to me, Faith. And so continue along that line. you know, I asked that question that way for a reason. So, you as a woman, would you say that if you could emulate what you valued in your mom for yourself
Mm-hmm.
to a potential person that you'd be in a relationship with, that would be a good thing? And then also, the things you said about your father and a father figure in general, would you say those are good things you would look for in a man?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So my parents weren't together. So I didn't get to experience that. I did have a stepfather who came into my life fairly young. So, but he was always gone. He, with his job overseas, and so really seeing that interaction. Certain things I can say I picked up from my mom. Like, for example, my mom does really well at making a house a home. She does really well at working hard. She's a hard worker. She's very driven when it comes to the things that she wants to do. My mom was a, prayer. She taught me how to pray. Not through conversation and teaching me, but just seeing her. Like seeing her pray, seeing her do that. Those are things that I picked up from my mom. My dad, I would say, taught me how to be independent, taught me how to, the things that you want for yourself, you can have them. You don't have to have those things because of a man. You know what I mean? Taught me how to be strong. Um, yeah.
Okay, I understand. Well, that's a great answer. I
It's
mean,
certain
it
attributes
makes a
I
lot
would
of
take.
sense.
Yes.
Yes.
Certain that bit. No.
Let's talk about your shirt for a second. Just a girl who decided to go for it.
Just a girl who decided to go for
What's that all about? Can you tell us?
it. This actually represents a lot. It represents the girl who was pregnant, who just said, you know what, I don't know what's gonna happen, but we just gonna do this. We're gonna figure it out. And this also represents I'm not afraid to try anything. I'm not afraid to the things that I want to do. Even if I fail, I'm gonna learn something along the way. I'm gonna become better. You know what I mean? And so um, that's something that people always have told me. Like, you're not afraid to do it. You know what I mean? I've dibbled and dabbled into just different things. Just on my journey, I would say of just trying to find my way. And I mean, anything that I wanted to do, I went for it full throttle. Whether I stuck with it or failed at it or had some success, I'm not afraid to just go and do and try anything. So that's what this means. I'm gonna go for the things that I want. So.
Hey, I hear you.
Yeah, it's actually a shirt. So it started out as a shirt that I just wanted for myself, and people started saying. So I had my cousin make me. I had it in black. I have it in black actually, and I will always get compliments on it. And so you know what? I might start selling them. So stay tuned.
Yeah, that's awesome. But throughout this whole conversation, I think it is exactly what we look for at Us Versus Life, at Us Verse Life on YouTube. And like I said, it's like now is the time, and this is the place where we all fight for a happy life. And again, I think through hearing some of your story, you can tell that it just wasn't given to you, right? The smiles
Right.
that you have now, you had to fight for them, because it wasn't just all set up and easy. And I think that's key, and that's important, and that's a lesson we all can learn from. And so that's why we promote that. We fight for happiness each day. And I'm so glad, Faith, that you've been fighting for your happiness each day, and I hope you continue to.
It's funny you say it because I used to always say, one of my sayings was, "The woman you see today, I fought to become her." I always say that. I always used to say that. The woman that people see today.
Yeah, you really have to, I think. So, I think this has been great. What's one word you would use to describe yourself, though?
I would say overcomer.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Could you elaborate a little bit more?
Um, my life, just from being a little girl, like nothing came easy. Nothing was handed to me. Um, you know, a lot of hurt, a lot of mistreatment, a lot of mistakes. Like I can't even just say, other things. Just a lot of mistakes, um, and just life. Like a lot of things. There's been so much over the journey, and no matter what obstacle I faced or whatever stage I was in life, I've always been able to overcome. And so when things happen to me, I always say it's not happening to me, it's happening for me. And even though it doesn't feel good, it's necessary. And as long as I always say, God help me to be better. I used to want my life to be easy, but now I say, okay, allow this situation to help me become better. So I would say overcomer.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And I think that's something we all need, because we have to overcome something at some point in life, it seems. What would you tell your 18-year-old self given all that you've learned and been through, what would you tell your 18-year-old self?
Um, I would tell my 18-year-old self to not focus on relationships. Um, I've always known that things was going to be okay. You know what I mean? I've always known that at some point I was going to get what I wanted just out of life. For me, I think the biggest mistake that I made, and not even just at 18, but just throughout my 20s, was I've always wanted to. I've always wanted marriage. I've always wanted to be a wife. Like that was, most women like they have like these dreams and goals. That was mine. Like I wanted a husband. I wanted a family, and um, I would focus on things that I wanted to do. Just personal goals and career wise and things like that. And then I meet someone, and now that little desire, that big, I'm not even gonna say little, that big burning desire, oh, maybe this is it, maybe he's the one, that would just take all my darn attention. And I would lose sight of the things that I wanted for myself. And now I would feed that. And obviously, just choosing the wrong ones over the course of time, just losing focus. Like I would allow that to distract me, and I would go try to get to that dream and that goal, as opposed to letting God take care of it and just focusing on the things, focusing on what He has for faith. You know what I mean? I wish I would have spent my younger years just focusing more on the things that I wanted for myself, because I noticed like when I put that energy into me, like I excel a lot faster. Even when I look at like just now, I came out of a relationship for like the last 5 months, and just seeing what I've been able to accomplish for myself in 5 months. At the pace is like, dang girl, like imagine if you would have been, doing this throughout your 20s, just focus. Like imagine where you could be. But I mean, learned a lot. I would say not so much focus on relationships and love. Like that was my biggest downfall. Understanding like God has something so big for you, like, and tap into that, and the person, the man, the husband, all that will come in its time. But you don't try to go and do it and have it, because it can be a distraction, and it has, and it's cost me a lot of my 20s, a lot of my years focusing on the wrong thing, getting off track.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so, that's kind of why I asked you earlier about whether you felt it's a good idea to emulate for yourself what you valued in what you saw in your mom, and then what you like for a potential person, male, that you be in a relationship with, to emulate or have some of the same traits of what you saw of value in your dad, right? But I would add on to that and say that it seems that life is a bit of a situation where we are to be in service above a lot of things, right? And so what that means is, in my opinion, that if I'm going to have a relationship with someone, my approach to that relationship isn't that I'm going to get out of it what I want. It's to give them what they want. The issue becomes that I've seen is that maybe one person is thinking of providing and giving themselves, but the other isn't. But when both persons, think about a situation where you got two people both looking out for the other person's best interests. See,
right.
You then get what you need. But what happens is, too often, people are solely focused on what they want versus what the other person wants, and there's an imbalance. Somewhere in that situation, there's an imbalance. And that's kind of what I talk about on this channel when I say, like, for example, in communication, what we need to do is understand the other person's perspective. What message are they trying to get across first?
Right.
And then clearly explain ours, and then we can properly communicate. We can't have just one side of that, right? And that's just something that I've noticed, and that's been an opinion of mine for some time now. So, but like I said, I understand clearly what you're saying, and I'm sure the audience appreciates, the wisdom and the information that you've given so far in this interview. But one other thing, Faith, I wanted to ask you about before I let you go. What are your goals for yourself or for your kids, or in general? What are some of your goals that you have?
I have a few. For my career wise, or I would say business wise, like my biggest, well, not my biggest, but one of my goals is I want to open up an event space, a venue. Obviously, I have a catering business, and I know that people always need a spot. And so I feel like that's something that my children can run down the line. That's something that can always stay in the family, having a venue space. That's one of my big goals, to where I can focus on the catering and things like that for that, those events. That's something that I want to accomplish for myself. But I would just say, really, ultimately, for my children, is setting them up to give them the head start that they need in life is very important to me. And also making sure that I'm very intentional with my decision making. I don't want my girls to ever have to go and look for another example outside. Obviously they can learn and stuff from, I don't know everything, but the foundation of who they need, like of the foundation of what they need to become the women that God has already preordained them to be. I want them to be able to learn like certain attributes about me, and what would my mom do? How would she handle this? How does she think? Just things that I want them to get that from home, not necessarily have to figure it out as they get older and as they go out. I want them to get it from home. So just making sure that I set them up so that they can have a head start, and making sure that I am the woman that I'm the example, of what it means as a woman for them, so that they can grow up and become the woman that God created them to be. That's my goal.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so, in closing, is there anything else you would like to share with people before we get out of here?
I would say to stay tuned. I'm finally at a place in my life where I'm clear on what I want. I'm clear on. I think I spent so much of my adult life just trying to figure it out, just trying this and that, and just trying to figure out. And now I'm really clear, and that kind of goes back to like even the YouTube, like when we spoke earlier, and you were saying like, oh, I seen you haven't uploaded, but really the content that I was putting out was just stuff that I was seeing. You know what I mean? Like, oh, let me do this. This would be cool. This would be nice. But really, just now, finally being at a place where I know what I want for myself. I know what I enjoy, and I know the lessons I've learned, and putting that stuff out. So as far as like my social medias and things like that, like people are gonna start to be able to see content based around, my healing journey, based around me just going forward, based around, me and my girls and our relationships, and just seeing how my story, my journey can help inspire, motivate others. And so, if you're a mom, or if you're just a woman and you're at a place where you want to be able to just be happy with who you are, where you are, what you are, follow me. follow me on my social medias and just look forward to the content and stuff that I'm going to put up. That's what I would say.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Faith.
Thank you.
You know, hopefully we can do it again, maybe in the future, and get some updates on things. But for now, folks, that's all we have. And this has been a great conversation with Miss Faith Shepherd. And like I always say, keep fighting for your happiness.